Time is based on a time after time, and maybe this is a clue.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think the Starbucks. I think the Starbucks thing was on purpose. I think it was for advertising purposes.
Hey, somebody jumped in.
Maybe.
Oh, someone did. Oh, we got someone listening. Hey, DK. Oh, and they're gone.
And DK left.
They're like, wait, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, what's going on? Okay, well, I thought DK was going to listen to us. Maybe not. But yeah, so fun.
Oh, is that why that came up? Is Dusty Wheel tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Dusty Wheel's tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we definitely got to do this. Alan already told you, and Chris, you might find out the hard way next week. With my traveling and everything, might be a no-go for me. No promises.
And we got a guest, so but it's one of our patrons, so we'll be on. It's one of our patrons.
Okay.
It's Remy. She's also goes by Late Night Snack on our Discord.
Okay, I'm gonna try my best.
And
are you hopefully traveling home, or are you going elsewhere?
So I go to El Paso first, and then so Saturday we go to El Paso, but I don't know what our arrangements are going to be there and what my access to internet and everything will be. And then hopefully by the 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in there, I'm heading home.
Awesome. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And so will you be staying in your house, or are you renting that out?
Renting it out. I have no idea what I'm doing when I get back.
Alan, you're about to have a house guest to help with the baby.
No. I don't show up to that baby's at least 6, 7, 8 months old. Like I'll pick them up, but they need to be able to fully support themselves and all that jazz. And yeah.
He's a football baby. He's picking up.
Right. They need to know that my nipples are not the type of nipples that you get milk from.
Oh yeah. He does that to anybody. Like anybody touches him, immediately and opens his mouth up. I'm like, dude, that's not how it works.
just give him one. Be nice and hairy. Like,
River was like that. River would try to suckle anybody.
Yeah.
Liz Pongratz one time was holding him, and he literally like shoved his hand down her shirt and was trying to pull it down to get to her boob.
That's awesome. I think it was Asher. Like he wouldn't take a pacifier, but like, so what we would do is we would trick him, and I would just put the pacifier like where my nipple is on top of my shirt and like roll him in like I've got to feed him, and he'd just go right to the pacifier. Like I'm like,
gotcha.
All the tricks. I'll learn them all before it happens.
I'm like, got him.
I need that parenting book.
And he's like sitting there like working it really hard, trying to get milk out. He's getting frustrated. I'm like, no, keep going, buddy. Keep going. You're doing great.
Chris, if you read any books, which most of them are useless, if they say anything like this is the way to do it, just stop reading, because the way is what works.
Yep.
And those early months, almost first couple of years, you do what works. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody. And it might seem crazy, but if it works, it's not crazy.
Exactly.
You do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the episode since
sounds good.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be, I don't think this is gonna be a long one. So
that's what she said.
You took it
from me. Got him.
All right. So welcome to season 5, episode 12. So as far as housekeeping goes, we do have a guest next week. Our next episode, it's going to be Remy. She's one of our Bellas, one of our top level tier patrons. So they get to come on from time to time. And we actually got a slate of guests coming on the next few weeks. We have them. The following week after that, we have Threefold Talk and the Women of the Aiel, the Maidens of the Spear of the Threefold Talk.
Maybe they'll teach me how to sing.
Yeah, they might.
La la la.
They're coming. So we have Bane and Chiad is one of them. I'm trying to remember all three. But anyway, there's 3 of them. And they're going to come on, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then after that, we have David coming back. Another patron. So we have like 3 guests back to back in the next few weeks. So it's gonna be a guest heavy, and then I think we take a break of guests for a while. So
hey, I'm gonna call out David here. So David messages Chris and I, and this is how awesome he is. He was like, hey, getting ready to come back on. Just want to talk to you too. Like, if you got some notes for me on things I could do better, do different, whatever. which one is awesome, says a lot about him. But like I replied back, I think Chris said about the same thing. Like, I don't know what he's worried about. Last time he came on, that was a fantastic show.
It
Yeah.
was.
Like that was like right after he got off, I told Alan, I was like, yeah, I gotta have that guy back on. So
yeah, I remember.
so David, don't worry, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. it's
Don't
gonna
do
be fun.
anything different. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as far as other things, I'd like to give these little snippets or statistics. We do have one of the things I wanted to talk about was how many new listeners we get even every month. So right now we're averaging around 500 new listeners a
That's
month.
crazy.
So of course they're moving through, but yeah, it varies between like 400 to 600. So I average around 500. Some are less, some are more months of people finding our podcast. So thank you all of our new listeners when you finally get to this episode. Because if you just started listening, it might be a while. Or if you started listening and you started listening, let's say the most recent ones, you decided to go back. Thank you for going back and starting over and listening to the really crappy stuff in the beginning.
Have you edited the first episode yet to say, hey, bear with us,
Uh-huh.
we get better? Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's gonna help.
Yeah. I had a disclaimer in the with the new mic saying like, hey, this is Ellen from the future. Sorry, it sucks. We get better, I swear.
Yes, I promise. Okay,
I
good.
promise.
Okay, good. That should help a lot.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that's cool statistics. And as far as giveaways, we're recording. Even though this episode comes out a week after the other episode, we're recording the next night. So I still haven't gotten around to doing giveaways yet at the time of this recording. By the time this episode comes out, there will be giveaways going on.
Cool.
I promise. So, yeah. So. check
So
those
in the now, there will be giveaways in the future that we don't know about.
out. Yes.
But in the now of you listening, there may have already been announced giveaways
So
that
go
we
check-
don't know about because we already did them in the future
Yeah.
that we don't know about.
Uh-huh.
There is no
Yeah.
time. Flicker, flicker, flicker,
flicker. Exactly. Yeah. And then as far as personal life, since yesterday, not much has changed. Went straight to bed after and then woke up, went to work, and then now I'm recording again. So it's literally nothing's happened except for work, sleep, and podcast. I had Chipotle for dinner. So I guess that's
I like Chipotle.
yeah.
That's new for
Well-
you. Normally, you guys are cooking something up.
Well, we got like people delivering food because when you get a new baby, that's nothing you'll learn. When you get a new baby, like everyone wants to like bring you food. So
So
like
you get a few pounds heavier.
yeah. So like we've had like someone brought over. It's not necessarily bad food. Like someone brought over home cooked like chicken curry. That was
Ooh.
really good, and rice on Monday. And then we've had a few meals. And then
That's why
people.
I love my
I'm-
church because they will set up like one of those like
Uh,
food trains.
That's exactly what is what church says it's doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting all sorts of goodies. So Chipotle was tonight. So yeah, it was good. Had a little burrito bowl. Felt great. Tasted great. Kids didn't eat it because it's yucky because they only like chicken nuggets and yeah, they're toddlers and
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever works, Chris. Remember,
Whatever
don't fight it.
awesome.
Whatever works. You want the same kid cuisine every night for 3 months? Look, that's what we're doing. Because once all your kids are out of
Yeah.
diapers, you can start trying to create good habits. But until then, man, you're surviving. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh yeah. So here's another personal life thing. Speaking of kids, so since my newest addition, my son, is moving into the nursery, which was one of the kids' rooms. We've moved the older two kids in the same room together. And we tried this out started trying it out a few months ago to try to get used to it. It crash and burn, horrible. Just they stay up to like 11 o'clock every single night, even though we put them to bed like at 7:38, like running back and forth, like pulling out all the toys, and just we go in the morning, look like a hurricane came through, and like they have no sleep. And I'm like, all right, so we need a solution. So Monday night, we're like, okay, I got an idea. We'll put my daughter to bed first, and we'll let my son stay down and like wind down and read and wait till she's out cold. And then he can go in the room quietly and he'll respect that because his sister's sleeping and he's older. So, and Monday night, it worked great. Like, and within a half an hour, able to sneak my son in, they both went to bed, good night's sleep. Everything's great. Last night, we put my daughter down, tried the same thing again. I checked the monitor. She's just sitting in her bed, staring at the door, waiting for him to come back. An hour goes by. staring at the door, waiting for him to come back. She's like, I know he's coming in. I ain't going to sleep till he comes.
So we know who your stubborn child's going to be.
So yeah. So that's my reality right now.
I love it. I love it.
So how about you guys? What's going on?
All right. So I did say I would save something so I could talk about personal life. A while back, might have told you about a couple of interviews that I had done. All the jobs I interviewed for, I got an offer for, and I ended up accepting the one at Fort Lee. So I'm going to be just south of Richmond now. Don't have to pay for parking, which is great. The commute's a little different. I wouldn't say it's worse, maybe a tad bit longer, but I get to go around the city. And there's different routes to get there. It's a pretty leisurely drive. So it's slightly longer, but more consistent.
Yeah.
And it's actually a much easier job, and I'm getting paid a lot more money. So like, and it's still non-supervisory. Those of y'all that work for the government know that as you move up, it's hard to avoid the supervisor positions, but that's a nightmare managing people, and I don't want to do it.
Apparently, when it's slightly longer and it's that very consistent rhythm, I mean, it's that's what they really. It's
how did I miss that? Here we go.
It's yeah. Apparently that works out really well.
They call me Old Faithful. I'm trying and true. Yep. And I think I might have said it yesterday, but it looks like by mid-March I'll be home.
Yay!
Again, unless crazy things happen in the world, but I'm pretty confident to be home mid-March.
Cool.
Yep, looking good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun.
On the interview train, not as good news as yours, but I did have my second round interview today. 4 hours of interviews.
Wow.
The panels were all 4 to 6 people, an hour each. Actually, to be honest with you, I absolutely loved it. It felt like I was with you guys, like podcasting, but
yeah,
talking about what I'm going to do for these people in this new role. And I have an inside scoop because the person that had the job before me is a friend, and one of the people interviewing is a friend that I've mentioned quite a few times on the show, Alan Hinton. So
nice.
He like messages me afterwards, and we were sitting there chatting about it. He's like, he had a really great interview. People are impressed. I'm like, great. He's like, but your competition's coming up next. This woman works for the university already, so it'll be what it'll be. And he came back. He was like, she was underwhelming. So hopefully that'll bode well for you. We have 2 more interviewees to get through tomorrow, but they said something as early as maybe next Tuesday I'll know.
Yeah, I always enjoyed the interview process. That was the hiring process. The filling the paperwork and stuff like that, I always hated that. But the interview process, I always enjoyed.
Yeah.
If I could get a job doing interviews for people, I would be so rich. Like, I don't know. I perform well. That's the peak of the performance.
Yeah.
That I will ever put forth in that position. It's the interview. It's all downhill.
My strategy when I'm interviewing is always just flip the script and ended up turning the conversation into an interview for them. They always take it off guard when you do it, and it's amazing how well it goes when you do that. Oh, you're interviewing me? No, I'm seeing if you're the right place for me. All right, let's turn this around.
So that's what I
want to hire me. That's already a done deal.
When I throw the questions back, they're like, that's a good one. I'm like, okay, would anybody else like to respond to that? Would anybody else like to give some feedback? And all of a sudden it's like, this dude knows what he's talking about.
I always have a whole list of questions I ask.
I have a minimum of 10 questions.
Yeah, and they're always shocked because I think a lot of people go into interviews and when they ask that question at the end, do you have any questions to ask us? A lot of people say oh no, I think I'm good. No, that's never me. I'm always actually I do. And I pull out my notebook. I'm like, and let's go. Click, click.
So my first question, when they say, do you have any questions? My first question is always, if y'all don't mind telling me a little bit about what brought you to this agency, since I work for the government, but you say company, about how long you've been there, what are your likes, dislikes, sort of thing. And you actually get good information from that. If the whole panel's I've only been there a couple of years, or if they kind of dodge the question, it might be a pretty toxic environment. Right. But if you get a full panel that's I've been here for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I love it, it's great, and they sound excited about it, it's actually
Right.
really good feedback for you. So
And that's what I felt like with this interview. We had a large number of like lifers, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year. Now
Yeah.
there were some new like
Good
2,
sign.
3 years, but that's because their predecessors had retired out. And the girl that was in the job that I'm in, like they all still love her, and she only left the job because she wanted more money, and they
Yeah.
couldn't give her what she wanted. So
Yeah.
I always ask the attrition question, like, like how long has your staff been there? Like how long, do you have people that have been around for long? It's like what's the turnover like? And it's always a question I ask. And if they start turning red in the face and like, we can't keep someone more than 3 months, I'm like, okay, thank you. This interview's over.
Right. Yeah,
That's a management problem, guys. You need to fix yourself.
yeah, right.
yeah.
Yep. You're very direct with it. I put them on the spot and see how they react.
Hell yeah. So
That's
anyways,
personal life.
it's personal life. So let's get into this chapter 24, a message sent. And we have the rising sun. There once a house in New Orleans.
What they call it?
The rising sun.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. Anyway, so we start with Egwene, and she goes back to her tent, and she's gonna go do some reading because Avienda gave her some books to borrow.
That surprised me right off the bat. I know this is really horrible, but I was like, wait a second, Aiel read?
Yeah, I always found it interesting too about the Wheel of Time world is how literate the world is. Like, and yes, it's futuristic, but at the same time, it's a dystopian society. And it's so surprising that like even like people from Two Rivers are very literate. They all can read. And you think about like very rural communities, before a centralized government and educational system,
there was no
reading. Literacy in rural areas. That was not a thing at all.
Well, in a society like the Aiel, you'd expect it to be more of the oral tradition. Let's get around the campfire and the elders will tell stories over and over again. And then eventually
maybe
someone
that
else,
was
it's their job
one
to
of
tell
the ways they
stories.
separated themselves from the Tinkers.
Yeah.
Because the Tinkers are the ones that get around the fire and dance and sing and tell their stories. But here we have the Aiel like reading
A little more
romance
rigid
novels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a collection of heroic and romance tales. So it's like 50 Shades of Grey. You got some Xena, Princess Warrior in there, maybe some heroic tales. So it's a good little mix.
Yeah.
And
the flame, the blade, and the heart.
Yeah.
I really, and they, a little bit of foreshadowing. They throw in the fact that Brigitte is part of this, and Gaia Kane, and they throw in a few other names. Anselin, is that right?
I think that's
and Barishel and Rogash, Eagle Eyes.
Rogash, Eagle Eyes. Which I would love the name.
We've heard that a few
some
times.
Names out there.
Yeah.
And this is it Dungeonin?
Dungeonin.
Dungeonin. So we definitely have some characters that are being thrown out there, and I'm like, all right, so we know these are heroes. Like, when do they pop up in the book? Do they actually get their own little limelight? So trying to pay attention to some of the finer details.
And Avienda claims that it's for the action and adventure, but it's really about when a man loves a woman. Ooh. Yeah. And every single one of them.
So, and she doesn't really even feel like reading, but it's too early to go to sleep because she has a plan to meet Nynaeve tonight. So it's too early. And she's trying to, read to stay awake, but that doesn't really work. She falls asleep with the book under her chin, which I've done many a times. Like I've woken up with my face like in a page, especially as like a kid, I used to read at night all the time. And I would wake up in the morning, like with my face in a book, lights all still on.
Yeah. A little bit of a drool spot in the corner.
Yeah. Pages ripped up a little bit because I've rolled around on the book. Yeah. Anyway, so
I love her anxiety about seeing, or excitement. That's the better word to use.
Yeah.
Excitement over seeing Nynaeve, was just because she's like, I finally put her in her place. I finally have one on her. Like I'm so excited to see if my statement that I did to her has been lingering, and she's been thinking about it. She's like, this isn't me, but man, does it feel good.
Right.
And she wanted to see if the effects had lingered.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So she goes to sleep and she realizes she's in the dream world, in the Stone of Tear. And she, I think she thinks about stepping out. At the same time, she's like, well, I might as well just stay here and take a look around. And she hears people talking and she's like sneaks around the corner because she doesn't know who it is. Yeah. And,
Sorry.
and,
That's not what they said.
and lo and behold, there is a woman that's with a golden, braid and a silver bow. And she starts rubbing her eyes like, it can't be Brigida. I'm definitely just dreaming this because I was just reading the stories about her. Like, it can't actually be her. And she rubs her eyes and looks back. It's like, nope, that's Elaine talking to her. Like, what the hell's going on? So,
And it's so
I didn't-
funny, like she shifted towards Brigitte because she was kind of thinking about her as she's falling into sleep. Had she just gone to sleep and not been thinking about, the meeting that was to come and Brigitte specifically, I don't know that she would have actually ended up in that spot with them.
Right. Yeah.
So
And I mean, I don't know if she was about to make herself presence known or anything like that, but before she can, Amise and Bayar show up and they're like, "Full woman, what are you doing?"
Trying to sneak around in here early.
It's like a Gawain whirled around to face Amise, her sun darkened face, too youthful for her white hair. She's like, I fell asleep. And so she was quick with it too. Like, it wasn't my fault.
I didn't mean to. I fell asleep. I just got here. I was going to get out of here. It happened accidentally. And they buy it. They're like, okay, that happens sometimes, but you really should be careful.
Like, she's back in her, home-ish lands. Like, she's back around grass and a little bit of humidity and warm air that she can cool with the breeze. And she's comfortable again.
It's a likely story.
Like, I'm ready for a good night rest.
I still think the wise ones are some of our watchers in the dream world that they sense sometimes. I think they know more still than they're letting on. And so you'd make the argument that, okay, why would they yell at Egwene so much? And how come some of them like chastise her so much about it and everything? But that's to not like give away their hand because they gather information in the dream world by watching people. So I think they knew she was there early.
Right. And they chastise her for a lot of reasons, but also you can tell Egwene still holds on to some of these things. I mean, like she holds the power, and she even mentions that like, the wise ones have told her that the things you can do in the dream world are more powerful than the power itself. Like you can do more with the dream itself than you could ever do with the power. So you shouldn't lean on that as a crutch. But she's just like, well, that's what I know. So, I mean, obviously they know a whole lot more about this world. I mean, that's very obvious, but,
right.
But it's she's definitely like you were saying, they could be just watching too.
Yeah,
the wolves too. I mean, we haven't heard from them in a while, but they're there.
Yeah, so. The wolves as well. Yeah, they could be the watchers. Could be wolf watchers. Wolves. Yeah.
Could be a being that just watches over the stories and the lives of the people, never interfering, just watching.
The Watcher. Okay, Marvel. And yeah, so they scold her for coming, like I said, for coming early, but they understand. And then they're surprised to see Elaine there early as well. So they immediately start to scold Elaine, and Elaine doesn't put up with it. She just like makes herself look all like queenly and doesn't seem concerned at all. She's like, I'll do what I want.
Yeah. But so I mean there before that they mentioned like you're lucky that one of the guys shouldn't found you. And then so like they knew she was there early, and she of course is violated at that point because they're like, they put you to bed. So you'll be okay, just make sure you get some sleep. But now let's go have a conversation with this person. And she's like, it's not Nynaeve, it's Elaine.
You're right.
And they come up and they do chastise her. Another young fool. Bear muttered, girls today have no more brains or discipline than goats, which I found that pretty entertaining. I was like, well, there may be some truth to that, but I do love the comeback. Like she quite literally is like, let me put on the most elegant gown that I know I can think of. Let me put on a crown indicating that I am the one in charge here.
This stands a little taller. Yeah.
It means nothing to these women. They're like, oh, you have a pretty dress on. What can you do in it? Like, it serves you no purpose.
Yeah.
But it
And
made her feel
but
better.
she's not rude with the response. She's like, I do thank you for your concern. However, it's unwarranted.
Very
Let's get
stately.
let's get down to business.
Yeah. And one of her first questions is like, okay, why are you here? Where's Nynaeve? And she's like, Nynaeve hurt her head. And she starts talking about some of the people, you know, in the menagerie, and the circus, and Egwene's just like, I mean, I know all these names, you mentioned them, but I've noticed people are, so I kind of like whatever.
This story
Um,
seems wild.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe it as a reader. I know Egwene doesn't really believe it, like the way Nynaeve was acting.
Yeah.
It just seems weird, and then apologetic, and
Mhm.
it just I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems odd. So if that's the case, if it was a made up story, what is Elaine trying to cover up?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
because, you know, they say like sometimes you can catch people in a lie because they're offering too much detail. I
Mhm.
kind of felt like I was getting that from Elaine here. Like she's trying to tell this big story of why Nynaeve's not there, and she almost over explains it. And it's
Mhm.
just not, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
So
Before we even go that far, though, I want to mention the thought: where did Brigitte and the others wait? And so that was one of the things that I picked up on as I was listening and reading through was, you know, Brigitte was there. Nynaeve knew this, and she's like, you know, it brings up a good question. We know that the horn is going to call them, but where is it calling them from?
Yeah.
And then the next question is that the horn can call them from Tel Anriad. Can it call others?
Interesting.
And are they waiting in the dream? Are they waiting in some space in between? And who else could be there?
Mm.
Like it
space
really opened up.
between the horn that blows is a space we'll fill with time.
So all these thoughts kind of went through my mind, like maybe we're learning a way to another way to exit the dream, or maybe we're learning that there is another space that can be accessed, or that can access Tel Anriad, but we don't know much about the power of the horn. We don't know much about, I guess, karma and destiny either, because, you know, these people are waiting for one of two things. They're waiting for a rebirth, or they're waiting to be called upon. So again, can you call others to the living world?
So, and here's another question. I mean, this is metaverse type thing. Like, so a person in the real world can enter Tel Anriad. Does it work the other way around? Besides the horn.
Yeah, well, that is a good question. Can they? I would have to say yes. I would think so, but
Okay. Interesting. So yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, it tells a story about Nynaeve. We're back to that, and Elaine tells, or Gwen's not amused and tells Elaine to tell Nynaeve to hold her temper, and, which, you know,
Like she's still trying to scold her
through Elaine.
through Elaine. Yeah.
Yeah, and also hints to Elaine that she wants to talk to her alone later as well, once the wise ones leave. And they do a quick exchange of like the news, like I said, and, you know, she talks about some of the people that they're traveling with, and I think Egwene asks, you know, why don't you just leave them and head, you know, the way you need to go, and she kind of makes some excuses about some of the intelligence she's gathering, that there's a Seanchan with them. And of course, that gets Egwene all upset, you know, because Egwene hates the Seanchan for good reason. And you know, she's learned a lot about this Seanchan woman, you know, traveling with her. I guess she works with the boar horses, but, you know, she learned how to work the boar horses by serving on the court back in Seanchan.
definitely.
I didn't know if you guys caught that.
Oh no, I caught that like 2 reads ago. It's like
No, did you catch the name of the court?
Oh no, what was that?
I did not.
No, I'm not gonna tell you if you didn't catch it.
Well, son of a bitch. Hold on, I was-
No, you shouldn't flip through the book real fast.
I'll push forward while you look.
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you that one.
I don't remember names of the people I meet in day-to-day life. How do I remember the name of a place?
Yeah, and they're still trying to remember like where the Blues gathered. Like, you know, they can't remember the name of that town, so that's another thing they're talking about.
Hmm.
So anything from all this besides Ian looking up the court?
Is it Cien? No, that's the name of. Oh no, I did catch this. Take it back. The Court of the Nine Moons, where Matt was looking for. I remember hearing that and going, Matt's marrying a Shan.
How did I miss that
way.
shit?
No, like that. As soon as I heard that, I was like, Matt's marrying a Shan. Like, is he a traitor or
Wait a
are
minute.
they
Maybe
going
he's
to
connected
co-
to Arthur Hawkwing.
What do you
Hmm.
mean?
Because wasn't it his people that
It's his people
went-
that went over for
that went over there?
And
Mhm.
didn't I say that maybe he was just Arthur Harkwing? Like,
Yeah.
yes, I
Hmm.
do remember that. I was like, when I heard slash read
When
that, I
a
was like,
man loves a
Matt, I know,
woman.
Matt. Like, I wanted to jump in the
He's
book.
gonna go
and be
live
like,
the
Matt, I can tell you where she's
sunshine.
at. You just have to travel land and go across land and sea to get her.
Yeah. So by the end of this book, Egwene's gonna spill the beans. Somehow Matt finds out and he's gonna be like, I'm gone.
I'm going.
Well, so I'm gonna jump ahead quite a bit and then come back. We have to realize that the Shan Chen are coming back with a
Oh, yeah.
vengeance.
Yeah.
They
Because
ain't
they
done.
capture one of the Aes Sedai that Min meets up with
Yeah.
in 2 chapters.
Right. And yeah, and also as well, you know, that's the point that point's made here as well. Like where the wise ones don't understand why they're so interested in the Shan Chen. It's like Rand defeated them and found that. Like, why? It's like, you think they're not coming back? Like, really?
Yeah, they're coming back.
Maybe
That was
a
the first thing
question
you
of what-
asked us at the end of the book. You were like, you think the Shan Chan are coming back? We were both like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the TV show did not do them or did them a lot of justice, but it like threw me off completely because you see billions of warships like piling up along the beach and killing everything in the wake, and it's like, is this their first coming or their second? Because that's how I expect the second coming in the book.
Yeah.
Like they came quietly, snuck in, and then started taking stuff over first go around. Next go around, they're just going to storm the land from all sides. So
Sure. So yeah.
there's
Yeah,
your prediction.
There you go. Yeah. So also during this, Egwene tells her that, you know, that they're moving to Kyrie and the Shido 7 days ahead. They're going towards they're all heading towards the capital. You know, they, you know, being spotted by the Karian is probably unavoidable at this point, but it's what they're doing. So they're marching towards, and that's kind of how we end this chapter with them exchanging kind of goodbyes as the wise ones leave, thinking that Egwene's going to leave as well. But yeah. So anything from all this energy? I know it's not much, but there's like a lot of tidbits in here. Obviously, the Court of the Nine Moons is a big one.
Yes.
So who's the daughter of the Nine Moons?
Well, that's a good question.
I
If it
think
gets
we're
to the
going to find
court,
out.
we'll know.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe it is her and she's just downplaying her role because she's away from home, doesn't have her people around.
Ooh, that could be. So, do you think the daughter of the Nine Moons who work with the boar horses though?
I mean, why not? She could be a little tomboyish and maybe she wanted to. I mean, Fail seemed like the type of daughter from,
That's
you know, kind of a
true.
noble family that wanted to get in the muck and do
Well,
things
what
that
about our other
weren't
Shan Chen
air quote
friend?
traditional female things to do.
What about our other Shan Chen friend?
Maybe she's the one that outs her.
Oh, the other one, the one that
That's-
Nynaeve and Elaine and all
Yeah,
ran
we're not
into.
even Elaine.
She went off with Bail Doman.
Yeah, but who
to-
knows? She might
yeah.
come back.
Yeah. Yeah, so our
was-
daughter of
that
the
was
Nine
Aeginian-
Moons might already
Aeginian.
be
That's-
with
Mhm.
Gina.
Elaine and Nynaeve. I
Mhm.
like it.
Okay.
And why are they attracted to the Shan Chen? Why is it always those two finding Shan Chen?
I don't know. There's the wheel weaves, man. The wheel weaves. All right. So anything else from this chapter? Anything else that we missed? I think we hit all the highlights.
I think we hit the highlights. I'm right
Okay.
there with you.
All right, let's move on to chapter 25. Dreams of Galad. He's so dreamy.
Ooh,
He's so dreamy.
he is though.
He is. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is very, very dreamy, and so yeah, so Egwene floats in the darkness for a moment. When she's sure the wise ones have left, she decides to go to the White Tower.
Fireflies seemingly twinkle, the vast sword fading away into unimaginable distance. This reminds me of when Professor X first gets hooked up
Mm.
to what's this machine's name? Darn it.
I know what you're talking about, the big dome thing with all the
Yeah,
different
the big
lights.
dome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I can see all the people. I am connected. And I can
Yeah.
see everybody individually, and yet everybody as one. Like that was pretty cool. Like I
Yeah.
like the visual that he gave here, and it also shows how strong she's getting and being able to use Talan. So
Mhm.
we're seeing this development in her that
Yeah.
I'm fully impressed with, and we're gonna get to some jokes here that I think are gonna come true. So
Yeah.
we'll get there. Some Easter eggs, in my opinion.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets to the White Tower and she cautiously looks around and then sees, Elaine there as well. So she did get the message. And
Mm.
Egwene immediately starts to ask her about Brigida. But Elaine's is like, I can't tell you. It's like, what do you mean you can't tell me? Or like, we're best friends. Is like, I mean, I could tell you, but I have to kill you. But no, I mean, really, she's like, I made promises. Like,
I love that.
yeah, I can't break the trust, which I appreciate to some degree. There's something to that. But yeah.
So I mean, yeah, she right off the bat, like they have this quick exchange about, I wasn't sure if this is what you meant, but I'm glad we were right. Like, wait till I introduce you to Leni or Cerelia. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, tell me about your meeting with Brigitte. It was
Mhm.
Brigitte, wasn't it?
Mhm.
It's like Elaine staggered. She's like, I can't talk about that. And you're right. She stated, I made promises, and one day hopefully I'll be able to talk about it. And realize that every time she starts to even think about talking about it or makes a statement along those lines, she starts to look around anxiously.
Right.
So she realizes that they are always being watched.
Wait, but she's not actually talking to Elaine though. This is Mogadine's web.
No,
and this
not
is
yet.
this is how Mogadine knows about Elaine and Egwene and Brigitte.
Yeah.
This isn't the real dream world. Well, it might be the real dream world, but Mogadine is manipulating this. This is not a real conversation between Elaine and Egwene. That's how I took it. Well,
Okay.
that's how I took it
After
at the end when you get the little Mogadine bit.
No, see now
Or you think Mogadine's just watching and
I think
finds all
she
this
was
stuff out?
watching. She was
Mhm.
listening. She follows
Whoa.
Nynaeve.
Mm.
I think it's more
then-
sinister than that.
No, she can't put somebody in a trap until she knows that they're there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe.
So like it was in the moment that she was in the tower going through. Let's continue and then
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we're
I'll reflect on
skipping
it some more as we
Well,
get through this chapter.
So the only reason
Yeah.
why I say no to that is because Elaine immediately starts going in. Well, maybe this is Mogadine as well, but yeah, Elaine starts going in about Rand. Asking
Yeah.
about Rand, and her neckline drops a little bit. Just
Yeah,
But
the lack of
wouldn't
control.
Mogadine already know about that? This is
I'm
the
sure.
first time
Mhm.
she's acted that way. There's no new information coming here.
yeah, but
And
Yeah.
it was Egwene that brought up the Brigitte thing or
Yeah.
Brigitte thing,
sure,
not Elaine.
okay, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
So yeah, but Egwene says his head gets bigger every day. He's threatened the clan chiefs as well,
Giggity.
and
Well,
yeah,
she's like, he's a king. That's an expectation.
Yeah. right.
I mean, that's why like this is an Elaine statement because she understands what it takes to be in charge. She's been being trained.
How was that
this.
not a Mogadine statement?
Because Mogadine
Mogadine knows who the Dragon Reborn is,
Mogadine
Nakar
is not
Khan.
that forward.
Mogadine probably knows way more than like it, and she initially it was in a dismissive way. Well, of course he would say that.
Because
I think
It
that's a
was
harsh
said in a
response
very-
for Elaine to give.
Nah, it was said in a very unapologetic way that a queen would say it in.
Everything we've
Yeah.
seen about Elaine, there's nothing about her that's like, yeah, let's go hang people that are getting out of line. She's the one trying to feed the poor. She's the one that like wants the most fair treatment. And there's nothing about her that makes me think in that position she would have that heavy of a hand.
Yeah.
That seems more like a Mogadine response to me. I don't know. I could be way off.
Yeah. And then the conversation shifts to Nynaeve because Egwene starts asking about her getting in this fight and what caused any problems. And Elaine's like, no, actually, she apologized for it. And like, Egwene's like, what?
Well, she even admitted that's the other thing. She's like, yeah, Nynaeve is different since the last time you two met. That wouldn't be something Mogadine would know.
True. Yeah.
You say true, but then you also say she's a watcher. So how would she not know it if she's been watching?
Is she watching the Teleron? Or is she actually there too? Watching.
I don't know. Okay. I might be wrong with this one.
We have Nynaeve apologizing. Let's just pause right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Take a
It seems so unrealistic.
2/23/22. Nynaeve, we first read, has apologized
Yeah, she's apologized.
to somebody that isn't Lan.
Are we believing that this actually happened though?
I am.
Until I get confirmation, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Well, Egwene, maybe what Egwene said finally got to Nynaeve and maybe changed her ways. But
Oh, we know it got to her.
yeah, we do. But Elaine notes Egwene's changed as well. Egwene's leveled up and grown. And she makes a little comment. She says, one day you'll be on one seat one day and I'll be a queen and we'll, yeah.
We'll rule the world together.
We'll roll the
you
world
and I.
together.
No, I'm sorry. I
still.
still feel like we're in Mogadine's web and I'm the only one who recognizes it. And you guys are just sitting there going, yay, everything's fine. Yeah, this is great.
We enter Mogadine's web with the first flicker.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
But Raffo,
Okay.
so with that, Elaine does leave after this, and Egwene goes back to look through papers and try to find anything she could find. And there's a couple of reports that mostly speak of failure, and notices that things aren't going that well. Bashir's army is still missing is one of the reports, and there's reports about Chanchico as well. Pager Nile is calling the White Cloaks to Amador, and no one knows why. And Rand's location's unknown, which she's comforted by that.
Still no word where the Bashir has taken the army.
Yeah.
name.
Do you recognize the last name Bashir?
That's the one that's after. No, I don't recognize.
Okay. It has been mentioned, so it's not really a spoiler.
Is that the one that what's his name? The old man that's
That's Jane
kinda-
Farstrider. I think if you're talking about the books that everybody talks about all the time. What old man?
nope, you're good.
The old man, White Cloak, old man.
Oh, the White Cloak woman. That's Peter Nile or
No, I'm thinking about the one that's chasing
Slayer?
Perrin.
No, we're good. Never mind.
Okay.
Forget that. No, cut it out.
Right.
all right. Yeah, no, Bashir has been mentioned. Because so I mean, this is not a spoiler. You can put pieces together. It's not because you've heard this name. So Fail's real last name.
It's Bashir.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's gone to help Fail out. That's what it is. He's going to help Perrin.
So yeah.
He's gotta go meet his new son-in-law.
Yeah.
Or maybe go grab his daughter and try to bring her back home and then find out that
Go
she's
into the wedding.
pregnant.
Our go show up and find his daughter's married without his permission.
Yeah, and
This can go
Yeah.
multiple ways.
Yeah, this is gonna be
The
ugly.
blacksmith from a little village.
I
Yeah.
mean, but he's a king too in his own right. He's got his own banner and everything flying.
Yeah.
King of
okay.
the Two River folk.
Yeah. from
He's got two
Manetheren.
banners.
Yeah,
He does.
He does. Yep.
Lord of Manetheren.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we
And
got
it looks like the agent who let Elaine and Nynaeve escape was
is
supposed to
about
not
be made an
was
example of.
was not supposed to be punished, but then it was crossed out like no,
Poor girl.
we're punishing her.
Poor woman, I
Oh,
should
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it seems like Alada is making plans to build a palace within the White Tower as
Yeah,
well.
awfully high of herself.
Mm-hmm.
So with the number of pages, it couldn't be just a living quarter. It must be a palace.
Yeah.
And it talks about Aja agents in Camelin said the queen had been in seclusion for days, but some have said that they saw her in a public audience. So clearly, she's out trying to captivate her followers again and reclaim her throne. So we'll see how that goes.
Right.
We have rebellions in Shinar and Arfel. I think you pronounce it.
Yeah. And then Egwene moves to the Keeper's study, and this is when she runs into Galad.
This is when we have our
Or
flicker
flickers.
moment.
Yeah.
Where's that? Trying to find it in the book.
Because he's more beautiful than any man has a right to be.
Before she had the
Barf.
time to even consider what that meant, the door opened and Galad stepped in, smiling, his broad blue coat fitting his shoulders perfectly, snug breeches showing the shape of his calves.
Wilting
I'm
calves.
sure that's
There's-
all it was showing.
always Robert Jordan loves to write about male calves. It's like the thing. His calves. I don't know if like maybe Harriet had a thing for calves, and like as the editor was like, yeah, write some more calf. Write calves in there.
Put
Like,
some more
she had-
Cav in there.
She has some calf fetish. Sorry, Harriet's still alive. So if you listen to our podcast, Harriet, I'm sorry for calling you out for your calf. It sounds like it. Or either Robert Jordan had a kink about it. And I'm not kink shaming. If that's your thing, man.
I like
We'll
calves.
test it. If we ever run into her, I'm gonna pull up my pant leg and flex my calf and see what happens.
Let's see what
We
happens.
should all do it.
If her heart goes a
Better.
flutter, then Alan, you are correct.
I say I'm a calf person too. I
If
like
we
to
get
look
kicked
at
out of
you.
JordanCon, Alan, you are wrong.
If we
If
get
we
out
get
of
kicked out,
even
but
George for
Ian
showing
does not.
calves, if we get kicked out of Jordan Con for showing calves, I am not going back to Jordan Con. I'm sorry.
That's true. Yeah.
There's far worse things that we might do.
That should be the official like secret handshake of getting in. You gotta flex your calf for him.
If
mean,
you have no calves,
There might be
please
badgers
don't.
released in Jordan. No.
Yeah.
Giggity. Or maybe eased. You know, you might
Ease,
ease the badger a little bit.
If you too wish to canoodle, a brisk woman's voice said, you
Canoodle.
will not do so here.
Guys,
Yeah.
guess what? I'm canoodling right now.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. And this is where it flickers and they go to the Two Rivers.
Mhm.
Okay. Flicker.
Yeah.
But
So
it flickered first. It said the keeper's right. It said, hurrying out into the antechamber. She was about to reach for the neat pile of scrolls and parchments, some with seals on the keeper's writing table, when the room seemed to flicker.
mhm.
And this is when she had the spell cast on her. The
Yeah.
weave.
the web
The
of
web was weaved.
the spider's web.
And
Yeah.
then, like you said, we get a second flicker, and she's in Edmund's field. Like she
Right.
fled without thinking of the image she was forming and found herself gulping for breath on the greens in Edmund's field. So
Right.
she was right there in front of her father's inn, and she thought she was safe. And
The only roof like it in the Two Rivers.
she's like, I'm
Yeah.
a fool for letting my dream interfere with Talan Riyadh. So
Right.
she's putting all the blame on herself. So she clearly doesn't have the awareness needed to know when a weave has been placed on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so she just wholeheartedly accepts responsibility for this. Now, I do like this story. She's got Galad there, smiling, loving, handsome. They have a baby, but there's also like these two banners. So she is kind of fighting what's going on. She's fighting the weave without knowing it. It's like a reflexive, I will get out of this. And she continuously goes back and forth with herself about the inn and the banners versus Galad and her mother and a baby,
Right.
a little boy.
Yeah. But she knows something's just not right. And she's kind of taken back by the banners too. She's like, that's odd. But yeah,
Well, it
and
would
then-
be odd too because they haven't heard about or what's going on with Perrin and
no, they don't know.
forever.
They
This is
don't
the
know.
first look at Perrin we got, and all
Yeah.
we're really seeing this is two banners.
Right. And she knows this is not right. So she screams and flees and leaves Teleron Riyadh. And that's how we end this scene. So any thoughts from all this before we move to our one paragraph of an next point of view,
Mm-mm.
which I think was one of the
Yeah.
best little paragraphs.
This
in
this I
thing.
think was the best part of all 3 chapters that we read,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, this
So-
is the story getting very interesting.
Yeah. So Gwen leaves and
Mogadine
Mogadine
wondered
steps out.
idly
yeah.
where this little village was. Not the sort of place she would expect to see banners flying. The girl had been stronger than she had thought to escape her weaving of Talan Riyadh.
hmm
Even Lanfear could not improve on her abilities here, whatever she claimed. Still, the girl had just been of interest because she was speaking to Elaine. So we see that even in her rawest form, Nynaeve is stronger than Mogadine and Lanfear in Talan Riyadh.
Egwene.
Egwene, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we get this idea that she is, but this is the first time it's really been tested.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she's surprised that Gwen was able to escape her trap. I mean, that Gwen actually got out because apparently she thought that she had her.
Yeah. Why? And so why isn't Mogadine more concerned in real world channel fighting? She got bested by Nynaeve.
mhm.
And here, when she had the element of surprise, she went toe to toe with Egwene and Egwene got away.
Right.
I don't
You'd think she'd be a little more concerned now, knowing
Well, I
that these
mean,
two girls are,
if you
on
don't
the
know
same side.
who Egwene is,
Right.
you might have just been lazily laying a weave. Like, I'm just gonna kind of put a spell on you and
Oh yeah,
see
that's
what
true. Maybe she didn't
happens.
come full force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was more just
Yeah.
here
She
we
didn't
go.
really know she doesn't know who Gwen is. She just knows that she knows Elaine, which knows Nynaeve. And Nynaeve's really who she's trying to get after. And she's really interested about this whole Brigida thing too. I mean, she's like,
Oh yeah,
I remember her from the Age of Legends. And of course she went by a different name. And I was
Tiandra,
it's like
Teardra.
she foiled my plans back then, but before I could get revenge, she died, but I'll still get my revenge. It's pretty much what she thinks. But her main plan is around Nynaeve. She's trying to get her plans to
and
get
then
back
she
at
just
Nynaeve.
vanishes into thin air.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
So thoughts about all this, thoughts about Gideon doing all this, and Gideon's learning a lot here. So this could be dangerous.
It could be, and they have the fear that she is watching. I wish they find a way to like indicate to themselves that they are being watched.
Or watch the watcher.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, nothing else. This is a quick chapter.
Okay. Guys ready to move to the next one?
Yeah.
I can pee real quick. You
Okay.
start, and I'll be right back.
Oh no, I can refill a drink.
Okay.
I mean, we're not taking a break for anybody else but ourselves, but so I'm not even gonna mute anybody, but I'll go fill up my
I'm
drink.
gonna
All right,
pee.
be right back. BRB, guys. Are you still in a hotel, Ian?
I am.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll be back in a second. What's up?
What's that?
What's up? Cool. So next week you might bail on us. I hope you can get in because it'll be fun with the first time with
I'm hoping to, but there's a lot of unknowns, so I don't know
sure.
is the problem.
Yeah, not here. I understand. I get it. Don't get it wrong. But
Yeah.
be a lot cool if you did, man.
It'd be that good if you did, man.
All right. Guys, ready?
Yeah.
This is like the shortest chapter, our first episode ever, even though we get 3 chapters. They're short. Yeah, nothing happens. Let's move on to the next ones. We got some good chapters coming up. So, yeah.
Good.
All right, moving on to chapter 26, Sally Dara. And the symbol is the Wheel of Time symbol. And we're in Min's point of view, which we don't see many of these. So it's always fun when we switch to Min.
Agreed.
Yeah. And for days they've been traveling together. Loghain's looking like shit.
Get a dog, little longy.
Yeah, he's looking pretty bad. They're traveling southwest of Lugard, on their way to where they think is Saldera, from the name Salidera. And yeah, like I said, Loghain's mood has been steadily deteriorating. He's just kind of like super depressed. And yeah, I think even
Well, Min
Leanna,
states this. She's like 15 days they had ridden, 15 days while towns and villages grew fewer and farther between until finally there was none. Day by day, Loghain's shoulder had sagged a little more, and day by day, the halo appeared more often. At first, he had begun muttering that they were chasing Jack of the Mist. And it says, for 6 days now, he had not seemed to have the energy to care where they were going and what they were going to get there, or when they were going to get there. Excuse me. So, but the halo, though, like,
it's on, appearing more and more.
Glory, glory, the weaker he gets. I'm like, what is that all about? I'm super confused. But is it because they're getting closer to the destination that the halo is appearing more and more, or what? So maybe there's glory and death for him.
Okay. I was going to ask. So
maybe he
maybe becomes the new king of the underworld now that Beelzemon is finished off.
Or maybe he like joins those that are going for the like part of the horn. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very strange. Maybe there's somebody there that can help him. Like
maybe he turns to the dark side, so he gets powers from the Dark One. And that was something we missed in the last chapter. Was Moghedien actually talked about asking?
Asking to have Nynaeve have eternal life so she can
immortality, so she can torture forever.
Yeah. That's really cool. I like that.
So that also is the first time where you finally get that. So that's why a lot of people ask in the beginning of the books is like, wait, the Forsaken are 3,000 years old. How are they still around? Well, the Dark One can actually grant the power of immortality. So that's actually
he stops the turning of the wheel.
And that's actually first time it's actually mentioned is that
little snippet that we just breezed right on over.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I did read it. I did notice that. I was like, that talk about sinister. I want to torture her for eternity.
Yeah.
Let's just give her immortality and then stick needles in her eyes.
Yeah.
And listen to her scream for the rest. Like that's hell, literal hell.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and Min's kind of wondering exactly where they're going, but Siuan didn't think it was necessary to tell Min, so they're kind of wandering, and Siuan's directing them. But I think they're all getting kind of antsy. And Leanna's trying to do like these little flirts with Loghain, but of course Loghain's being super depressed, so he doesn't really care.
Min's like, maybe if you kissed him.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I just need to see some action. I want to see something more because, riding with y'all for 15 days on this horse.
Yeah.
It's not doing it for me.
Yeah.
I like their little division of labor of, well, I'll deal with the men and Siuan can deal with the women. And when they get those roles mixed up, it's kind of cost them. Flirting with the wrong guy gets them run out of town.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like he had the angry farm wife and
yeah. And they mention as they keep on traveling, like houses and villages get more and more sparse. It's you're getting to the middle of nowhere, like where you see a few a day, and then maybe one a day, and then days with nothing. Just pure wilderness. Which is always interesting when you travel through an area of the country that doesn't have a lot of anything. It reminds me a lot of hiking like the Appalachian Trail. And the reason why I say that is like it's not so much houses, but just other people. Like when you hike the popular parts of the trail, you'll see people all the time. People
Lots
do
of
day
people.
hikes, people
Yep.
all the places. You Humpback Rock in Virginia, or you do like Spy Rock and the Priest and stuff like that. But
Tons of people.
once you get past like the really easy hike in places, like you see only through hikers at that point,
Yeah.
and they're very few and far between. Like you'll just
Hmm.
like you'll walk for hours and hours and hours, and you come around a corner, all of a sudden there's some guy just walking, and you're like, oh,
Well,
there's the guy. Like,
especially if you're doing a fall hike in the more northern parts before it gets too cold. Generally, as you get close to winter, people aren't in the northern parts.
Mhm.
I did a 3-day hike once where I did maybe 50 miles in 3 days and ran into one person.
Yeah.
And they weren't carrying a lot, and they had their dog with them. I don't know where the fuck they came from. But anyways,
there's that cult. There's a cult up there.
yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. What's the? Do you guys remember that? The name of the cult? Appalachian Trail cult?
I don't.
Now I'm gonna
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up now. It's the 12 Tribes.
Oh.
That's it. The 12 Tribes
Ooh.
cult. They're in Virginia. It's actually a cult, and they try to recruit hikers into their cult and get them to stop hiking and come live with them on their commune up there in the mountains.
Yikes.
It's like, what do you offer?
Well, they sell stuff to like, or they give away like food and rations, and they like to hikers. So like at the big base camps, they'll come there and offer like provisions and food, and like, and then sit by the fires with them, and then start talking about their weird cult and try to get you to join. It's weird. It's a whole thing. It's
It's like
it's
the
weird.
daughter of the whatever that comes and talks to women all the time when you're at
Yeah.
Walmart.
Yeah. So the 12 Tribes. That's it. You can look them up. They're strange. It's a whole cult. But anyway, so yeah, so as it gets more sparse, eventually they come out of the woods, and all of a sudden, bam, there's like actually a big size village. Like it's not small either. Like, Menzies Waters, and there's kids running around, and everyone is like just like stops what they're doing, like freezes in place and like stares. Obviously have the hands on weapons, like reaching into like bags and like behind carts, and like, who are you? Why are you here? They're not
Well, that's
particularly
funny. It's like
welcome.
only a fool would think to find a gathering Aes Sedai so near Amadisia.
Mhm.
There they were, like right around the corner. Like, we're just gonna
Right.
hide in plain sight.
Right, which Amadisia is the seat of the White Cloaks. So like, why would anybody think to ever look for Rebel Aes Sedai like right next to where the White Cloaks headquarters are?
Exactly.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Hide next to like one of your enemies, and they're like, yeah, there's no way the Aes Sedai would go anywhere near there. Like, let's look everywhere else but there. So yeah, what do y'all think about like the village's reaction to them coming in? Like, I mean, they might recognize Logain. They probably don't recognize. They obviously don't recognize Swan,
And some might recognize Min.
Some maybe.
Yeah. So honestly, at this point, I thought it was a little bit of because they've been still, they look a little different, but more of a combination of how busy they were there, that they just did a quick look and maybe at a glance didn't notice. So at this point, I'm like, it's only a matter of time until they go, aha. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. And then Swan leads them to a building that looks like it used to be an inn. I mean, there's a sign there, but it's like all, it's so, washed away and can't read, like there's just neglect everywhere. It's obviously like a town that's been abandoned for a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this was the hideaway. This was the safe house. You don't visit the safe house often. You don't check on it. You just kind of hope that the provisions that you left there are still good when you get there to use them.
Yeah. And they make their way in, and you meet some familiar names. Shiriam's there, which of course she was the mistress of the novices, and we've dealt with Shiriam a lot in previous books. You remember Shiriam?
Yeah, she's like, I would be happier there. I would be happier to see child if I knew how you discovered our presence here and if you hadn't brought him along. Like
Yeah.
she's
Hoping he was
outright
dead, like the
upfront.
rumors say. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well,
Anaya's
so
there.
this is already where it gets odd, and they're talking directly to Min and
Mhm.
not Swan.
Mhm.
This is where I'm like, okay, wait a minute, take another look. Come on, cheer, just take a look.
Right.
Why are we still talking to Min?
Yeah. And Min's like, I don't know why I'm here. Ask them. Like, and they're like, why would we ask those two little girls? And they're like, that's Swan. This is Leanna. And like they're getting mad. Like Swan and Leanna at the same time, like you're like kind of getting like a little arrogant about it. Like, but obviously their appearance has changed dramatically from the stilling, but they didn't realize it changed that much.
Right. So, and this is what I was getting at earlier. Like, obviously, this isn't a new concept, but definitely this put into perspective how big of a change it was.
Mhm.
And there's still something going on here that I can't quite grasp because, like, it didn't take Min. It wasn't that difficult for Min to see them.
Right.
I don't know. But
And maybe over time as the stilling like settled in, it got worse. So like Min saw it right afterwards, and it probably still looked the same. And then as they're
Maybe that's what
traveling,
it
it's such a
is.
gradual thing that you don't really notice it. But then by the
Yeah.
time they got there, it's months later, and they don't look anything like themselves anymore.
Yeah. And so this explains a lot when what's his name? The captain of the guard, former captain of the guard.
Gareth Bren.
Yeah. So when he runs into Swan and then tells a story about how he met the Amerlin seat, blah, 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 and is right there and doesn't recognize her. And I'm like, come on, old man, how do you not recognize her? But I mean, obviously people that she lived with and saw
Mhm.
day in and day out, like staring her in the face is like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you look similar, but no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Like, what?
crazy.
Oh, the voice is the same. They're like, oh, quiz me, ask me questions. And they're like, okay, we will. So they go through like tons of questions and learn about all sorts of pranks.
The
and things like-
Inquisition.
Dun,
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 dun, dun,
dun,
the
dun.
Inquisition. Ba, ba, ba.
Yeah. So all sorts of pranks that they pulled and all sorts. And, Min's like, wow, I didn't realize you guys were that wild back in the day.
It's like, if you guys can get away with this, what should I have been able to get away with?
Seriously.
She's like, they shouldn't even be here. They
It's like,
should-
it's like all those stories from high school and college you don't tell your kids.
Yeah.
That was perfect in college, in high school and college.
Yeah. They never did anything crazy.
Nope.
Look,
So-
I had even in the army, like you can't get away with today what we got away with when I first joined and when I was in Europe. And I
Wow.
counseled somebody out here. Well, I was told I had to counsel somebody out here for something that they did. And I thought it was ridiculous. And it's going to turn in one of those, I'm putting it on paper, but we're not saving this anywhere and I'm going to throw it away later. But I was told to, so I had to. So after I'm done counseling, we do the official thing. I'm like, all right, come on, let's talk. What happened? Da, da, da. And he tells me the full story. And I'm like, oh, that's nothing. I remember this one time, one of my buddies got jumped in this Russian-owned bar. So like our platoon sergeant had us, or no, the first sergeant formed up the whole company and marched us down there. And we jumped that guy and all of his friends and everything. And then we came back and he's like, and the soldier's like, and nobody got in trouble. I was like, no, different times, man. Different times. Yeah. You can't do that now. But yeah, that's what we did.
I mean, yeah, like even in my industry and my line of work, like back in the day when you first started, like people used to haze a lot. Even like, I mean, 15
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago when I started, it was completely different than it is today. Like the amount of pranks and like little hazing that was done was a lot more extreme than today. Like none of that is allowed. It's
No.
very frowned upon. Like, in fact, one company I worked for made a corporate policy where they weren't allowed to hire interns anymore without going through a temp agency because the interns were being hazed and abused so
Oh, wow.
badly that they changed the rules where you weren't allowed to hire your own interns. You had to go through temp agencies.
Wow.
Because they were just, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
The glory days. I don't know if
Mm.
those are glory days or not.
Yeah.
It depends on which side of the coin you're looking at. I don't know. I think it builds camaraderie in some ways. In some ways, it did go too far. So it just all depends.
I'll tell
It
you
depends
what, marching back from that bar and first sergeant with a bloody lip singing cadence and us screaming cadence back at him with people like with black eyes and shit like that and all busted up. That was fucking fantastic. I love that first. I would have done anything for that guy after that point.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a team building experience
Yeah.
that we
So,
would
yeah.
all go to jail for today.
Yeah. Probably. Excuse me.
You all right there, buddy?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Got a little frog in my
You're
throat.
good. As long as it's not bad.
So yeah, so obviously this is when they find out that Swan tells them that she still knows she's still valuable to them even though she's been stilled. She has her connections with the eyes and ears and blues, and that's how she was able to find Sally Darrow, the name, and that's how they found them. And they said they still can be, and Leanna even chimes in saying that even though we can't channel, it can still be used for the tower. So but the Aes Sedai are still very skeptical about it. Like they don't know what to do with them. Like it's just one of these things like a deposed former leader that can never be a leader again because they're no longer able to channel. So therefore, like, how do you treat these people? And then and there's rumors obviously that they caused all this, and that some people, even though they are against the tower, that's not necessarily for them. You get that sense like that some of them are still anti-Swan.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about being in power and being in leadership. You're always gonna have somebody that dislikes you.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna have a group of people that dislike you. It just so happens that she needs to depend on the people that dislike her. So
Yeah,
she
you
still
know-
steps in very much like she's in charge.
Right.
Oh yeah, she still has that attitude, and she still has a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and that's one of the things that she nudge and wink conveys when there's the, hey, how'd you find us? And she says, how? That's where Min recognizes there was more to it than in what was said. It was, all right, I still have my connections, yada, yada, yada. But you also have to remember, Chris, Swan is used to operating like this because she's had different circles of people she can trust with different things. But the people that she can trust with her ultimate mission, it's like 3 people. There's Varen, her, and Moraine. I mean, who else? Who else knows the depth and detail
That's it.
that they know about
Yeah,
Rand and
that's it.
everything? So
Yes.
she's used to operating that very small. It used to just be her and Moraine. Varen came in kind of late in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
she's still in her comfort zone. She's gonna be able to work some angles here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, Man and Logain are dismissed, as they continue the conversation with Swan and Leanna, and Min's offered some food, and she doesn't feel like she's welcomed either in Seladar, that she's not really welcome there. So that's kind of how we end this. It's a very short chapter.
He
doesn't
like you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like you either.
I don't like you either.
So a few things I did want to talk about. Min did talk about a few visions and viewings she had. So I was going to mention those. We already talked about the halo of greatness around Logain's head.
And
But
the Adom, we talked about that.
Yeah, around that
Yeah.
yellow's neck.
yeah, so
That was rough.
Edicina had a silver collar suddenly appear around her neck. And she did not like that viewing, any viewing of Sanchan. So yeah, that was not a good one. But then also Shiriam had rays of silver and blue flashed about her fiery hair in a soft golden light. And then Carlina, another Aes Sedai, for an instant, Min saw an image of a raven floating beside her dark hair.
Black Aja.
Yeah, the more drawing of the bird than the bird itself, more of a drawing of the bird itself. She thought it was like a tattoo, but she didn't know what the meaning of it was.
Yeah.
I agree. That's
So I thought Black Aja there, eyes and ears, or some definitely dark friend for sure, but Black
Okay.
Aja. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Yeah. The only one that really got me was the glowing hair and the blue and the lights flashing, and I was like, oh, is she being abducted by an alien?
She had a
But-
disco.
Yeah, like that's the only one that really threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it at all. I don't feel like
Yeah.
we've had anything like that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to that, but I also have nothing.
Anything else from these
So-
chapters? Or
I might have been a little harsh. The Raven person
Mhm.
might just be a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan.
Could be.
So
Could be.
I apologize for going straight to Dark Friend
Mhm.
and Black Asha. That was a little harsh.
I could just be like a fan of like the Tower of London because they have their own ravens too.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's lots of
And ravens and crows, super smart birds, super
very,
smart.
very
They
smart.
can be
very smart.
trained. They can imitate everybody else and all the other animal noises. I mean, they're great.
Did I tell you a crow befriended my dad?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a crow that lives behind my parents' house, and my dad in summertime goes out and like after work, just sit on the back patio and pour a glass of bourbon or something like that, and sit back there and read a book or something like that in the evenings as the sun sets. So about a year ago, this crow started showing up and would just come and land within like 5 feet of him and just sit there and perch while my dad read. And every single day, I just come and sit next to him. And it's been doing it for like over a year now. During the summer, it comes back every year. Just sits next to my dad. It's his friend.
Does he toss him any food here and there? Like, are they
Nope.
just
Doesn't give him-
chills?
Just chills. Hangs out next to my dad.
Two
Like,
peas in a pod.
I was joking around. I was like, maybe you're Odin. I don't know.
Yeah, right. So is somebody watching him, or is the Raven coming back to report? Like, what's?
I don't know what's going on. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust that.
Yeah.
I've read too much Wheel of Time. Like, that's a bad sign. But yeah, so this crow, it's a crow, but not a raven, but still blackbird.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Anything we missed from these chapters, or anything else that this chapter, any of the chapters that we breezed over that you guys wanted to talk about?
No.
Okay.
No, I actually think we talked about way more than I thought we would. I said this before we actually started recording. Every now and then Jordan will hit you with a string of chapters where there's not a whole lot of new information coming. And I won't say these were boring, but I only had 1 or 2 moments where I was like, ooh, this is good. Ooh, this is good.
Right.
But then Chris pointed out generally what happens after those chapters is things start to pick up. So I'm hoping he's just kind of setting us up for some awesomeness coming up.
Sure.
All right. Hopefully so. I'm right there with you. Like in my mind, this next chapter is just gonna kind of blow me away.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely have some good
parent
episodes.
chapter too, by the way. I'm gonna keep saying it until I get one.
Next book, bro. Next book.
Perrin was in this chapter. He was sitting in the inn in my mind.
In your mind,
He
yeah.
was having a beer with, with the dad. Like
I could see you setting your book down at that point, just imagining.
I did. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, he's probably in there like chilling with everybody.
Him and Loyal,
Yeah.
and
the baby came
Loyal.
into the picture, so I was like, maybe Loyal's rocking the baby or something. Like,
yeah, they're just chilling. Anyway, yeah. So I guess we did a couple of predictions this go around. Kind of went through all those. So favorite character.
Ooh. I was so most intrigued by the little blip we got of Mogadine. Because we initially saw her just get her butt whooped by Nynaeve. But I don't think we should be fooled. I think Mogadine's got some skills. And we're starting to see a little bit of it.
Okay.
for me, I don't know. I keep going back to Nynaeve. I love her growth. I really do. I enjoy the fact that she is coming into her power. The idea for having a future with Galad.
You're talking about Egwene, not Nynaeve.
Sorry, Egwene, not Nynaeve.
I thought you were talking about like Nynaeve apologizing.
Erase that.
I still don't believe that happened.
Egwene, excuse me.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Everything I'm saying. So Egwene is my pick because of her, control of the power, the idea that she could end up with Galad just kind of intrigues me. The flicker moment, I had a question, like, she never has expressed like this desire to have children. She never really has expressed a desire to go back home. And then we had the word flicker. Like, was the weave that was used one to kind of lay over a past life or a potential life and kind of trap her in this thought, the same way they try to do with Rand? So like that's like, what did the weave do? Was it just a dream? Was it even a dream? I don't think it was a dream at all. I think this
I
is,
think it was more than just a dream.
yeah. I
More
think it
than
was,
just a dream.
Well, it had to be some of her dream because they went to Edmonds Field and Mogadine was confused about that place. So it's not something
well,
Mogadine
that's what I'm saying.
created.
Maybe it was a future that could have happened.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Because it was a
and
flicker moment.
it was a flicker.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Flicker and flicker and flicker and.
So not a
Flicker
jump
and
in Teleron
smoking
Riyadh
the
as we've been
reefer.
experiencing it, but something more like when Rand took people through the stones.
Yeah, so that makes you really ask the question, what is Teleon Riyadh? Is it really a dream world? Or are they entering a different multiverse?
Hmm.
Because she talks about her dreams and her dream world and how it's safety and seeing everybody else's interconnected dream world. But maybe when they enter Teleon Riyadh, like they are free of their body and spirit. And instead of going into the dream world, they're going into another universe.
Or maybe
It's
they
kind of like being slightly out of phase. Like you're just enough out of phase where you can't be seen, but like you can still interact somewhat with that world.
or maybe they found like a weird telephone booth and they go into the future to find like a song that's like, and they have to go collect like people from the past first, like Mozart and like Genghis Khan and Keanu Reeves is there, and they call themselves Wild Stallions, and
And we are
Wild Stallions. On Bill and Ted's Bogus or Excellent Adventure.
Anyway,
Socrates. It's Socrates. Socrates.
Yes. Penis.
Yeah, great. So next time that we'll read, so we're doing 2 chapters, guys, just 2. 27, 28. It's the practice of difference and trapped. Dun, dun, dun.
Who's trapped? I wonder. Maybe they trapped Mogadine.
Well, so maybe Mogadine trapped somebody.
Maybe it has
Or maybe
nothing to do with
Matt
any of
gets
them.
trapped
Maybe
by this girl. She can come in and be like, Matt, I'm pregnant. He's be like, shit.
There's no running from this one.
Rand, I can't go anymore. I got responsibilities.
Got to do stuff.
Maybe it's Rand. Maybe Rand gets trapped up in something.
Yeah. So those are our next 2.
Yeah, wait a minute. If Matt is like knocking the boots every single night,
Oh, he's got
like,
some little ones running
like,
around somewhere.
right. He seems like a healthy dude. She seems like a healthy chick. Like what type of contraceptives did the IEL have? Like, is there a special tea or is he getting ready to be a papa and not even know it?
Sheepskin.
Yeah. Wonders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they
Right.
used back in like the old
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how brilliant we were.
Asked and answered.
We're
Yeah.
like, can't figure out sustainable energy, but we're not going to have any more little bastards running around here. Let's use some sheepskin here and see if we can stop this from happening.
So you say that, but we're a step closer to be able to harness fusion power. There's a AI company that joined up with this like fusion power like company, whatever. Anyways, and they've been able to control the plasma created and like make different shapes out of it by letting the AI kind of control the magnetic variables that you have to do.
that's
Like
cool.
it's so we're a step closer.
Here's a fun, interesting fact. So the Romans actually discovered a type of flower called a syphilum that actually was a natural herb that you could take, and it was a natural form of birth control that was almost 100% effective. The problem was the Romans loved to have sex so much, and they used it so much it went extinct because they used it all.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Fun little fact
I
there.
need you to learn how
Those
to
jerks.
cultivate.
I need you to learn how to cultivate. And
Yeah.
so they use way too much of it, and now it's extinct. But yeah, there was actually a flower that worked as natural birth control in the ancient world, and they used the crap out of it to the point where they ran out.
Wow.
Good Lord.
I always find those like
Cannot even
little
imagine.
history tidbits.
I was complaining to Chanel, like, we have had sex from Friday all the way until now. Like, we gotta slow down. I need a break. I need some real sleep one
I need a
night.
sandwich.
Yeah, so it's yeah, so things the Romans did to screw us all over. They're actually there wasn't natural, no need for lab made birth control or contraceptives. They just had a flower they could take and it worked. But yep.
Yeah, they
Yep.
screwed us.
It's
Thanks. I
extinct.
could live without knowing
Sorry.
that.
Now you know.
Interesting.
You would
Yeah,
think
it went extinct before the fall of Rome. Like actually, they used it that much where it just
That was the fall. That was the
of Rome.
tipping
that was
point.
the tipping point.
We're out of what?
We're out of it.
Screw
War.
this.
I know how to take care of population control.
How Rome actually fell. Yeah. So
Good
fun
Lord.
things in history. Actually, there's like a bunch of stuff like that, like in history, where like things that we discovered and like immediately like swept under the brush. And I'm not sure how true this one is. I read the other day, I was reading an article about like how I think it was back in the 60s or 70s, they actually found a bacteria that actually destroyed all the rest of the bacteria inside your mouth. So you could take it
Oh.
as an oral pill, so you wouldn't have to brush teeth anymore. And they realized it would actually destroy the dentistry industry. So they shut it down and just they're like,
That makes
wait,
perfect sense.
we don't need a whole industry collapsing. So like, we don't have to brush our teeth anymore. I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. Like,
How have we not been able to genetically modify a grass seed that only grows like 1.5 or 2 inches? Like it should exist. But if you did that, I mean, John Deere goes out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, think of everything that people spend
Yeah.
on lawn care and lawn maintenance and stuff.
and yeah, and like for like alternative engines to fossil fuels for the longest time, a lot of the major oil companies used to buy the patents to all those things.
Oh, yeah.
and then throw them in vaults. So like
Yeah.
people discover technologies that would put out the engine, and
I mean,
these big
that's
companies would just buy the patents and like, nope, you're not making
part of
that
the
stuff.
reason why we have war. We need a reset button. Click.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into another war.
Exactly. So fun things in human history, but definitely the Roman thing's true. The rest of the stuff I'm not sure 100% on, but yeah, the Roman stuff. Yeah, the syphilum. Yeah. So, anyways, so how can we be found at the Willow Reads on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all those fun places. Listen to us on any podcast platform you so desire. Go ahead and like, rate us, share us. You also can visit our website at thewillreads.com, where you can find links to our things like our Discord server, where we like to share memes and have all sorts of channels for fun stuff. But also this is where we record live, so come check it out. And then also get links to other ways supporting us, like our merch. We have some cool merch and some more designs coming. I've said that a million times. Tree actually sent me more designs the other day for our Plant Supreme.
Yes.
I think she's finally nailing down the design for that. So hopefully that's going to go to from designer to our merchandise store soon. So yeah, hoping for that. And then what else? Do you find links to our Patreon? Yeah, support us there. We do appreciate and love our patrons wholeheartedly. So, and yeah, look forward to seeing everybody at JordanCon. And that's all I got for this week. So
Until next time.
Peace.
okay, bye.
Bye.
Stop.
Let's stop local recording.